So I didn't know I needed a laptop. So when I was just at Walmart last night, I remember him saying I need a laptop. My computer's in another city. I have a computer just in another city, but
Where are you coming from?
After we get,
well, yes.
and it's gonna be spin like.
All over the world.
Okay, that's a long story.
Oh, okay.
My wife was a master's, so I'm in transition to rebuild my life. So that's why it's difficult.
So you got a lot of questions, and we're going to answer a lot of those questions as much as ideas to,
Yeah, we both are the same. We are rebuilding.
rebuilding.
Oh, I'm exactly like you're saying about
25 years corporate America, 17 years corporate America.
yeah, it's
So
it's and now we're trying to build our own something.
Yeah. No, I think the demand signal that you are responding to exactly spot on, right? Because it's always going to be few big players, but the pool of small players is growing exponentially. Because the big players, like say for example, the hubs of all the corporate world, they're seeing that a lot of feed is to come in from the small businesses. Because to sustain it themselves, it's almost impossible. So like say for example, what they used to outsource now is going to be in the small businesses within the local areas, right? So if you look at it from that perspective, all of a sudden you see a shift that is like thousands of miles away to 10 miles down the road. That builds accountability, that's good legal practice, that's less vulnerabilities, right? So the small businesses that are thinking of like, okay, small business, what's gonna happen to me? I'm like, everything's coming your way because the corporate is not gonna be able to take all this in. They just don't have that infrastructure to feed all this information in, right? So one thing, if anything in the next 2 hours you guys learn is that it's about the data feed. If you cannot move the data from one point to another, none of these things matters. All these things are just a hype. There's few people trying to sell you few things because they have billions of dollars in funding. Literally, that's 75% of the story. The rest of it is about data feed, right? So we're gonna kick it off. Like first, I think we need to do a introduction, right?
Absolutely. I want to basically deliver one component of what you just said. Context is king. Data is the context, right? So that context that you're feeding the models is where it's, input output, but again, that input is context heavy. As we kick off, right, we have a little bit of a direct itinerary. We're going to kick off with our welcome. Definitely want to learn more about you guys and how we can, really wrap around your use cases. Want to talk through why AI matters right now. We all know it's a buzzword, it's a hot term, but it actually is a inflection point in humanity's history. This is the Industrial Revolution kicking back in gear, and it's really exciting to be a few years into this thing that's really going to have decades of growth opportunity in front of us. We're going to go through a few big tools, spanning from simple chatbots. Then we're going to delve into some agents. Then we're going to showcase voice applications of AI and how you can make your own custom voice agents, say customer service reps. And then we're also going to showcase a product called Hatefield, which is where you can generate animated movies, generate live action, just a few different really cool use cases that, when you start to think on aggregate, when you build out all of these use cases for your context and your use case, you almost have an agency that's, not confined by creativity, only confined by context. We're going to go through some of these brain systems and operational workflows. As you guys mentioned, you're building your own orgs and initiatives, and you absolutely, again, are building your operational workflow and letting the AI work for you, right? You're prompting it, it doesn't prompt you. And then we'll end with some Q&A.
Yeah, just a quick question. So is it possible to get the slide in the recording?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're actually going to give you guys access to our learning platform where you'll have access
This
to
is
all.
my first session, the FYI for AI. I use the ChatGPT for learning. This is the first session I'm attending, so I might take time to absorb everything.
Take your time.
No, so
It's good to have the recording.
the reason we like these setups is because if it takes you 2 months to learn anywhere else, how can we teach you all this in 2 hours? But the best part is, how do we get you to start hitting the keyboard in the next 24 hours? Right? We cannot do this in class full of 30 people. the numbers that we keep to the minimum for a reason. It's so that way everybody we come in contact with, we have an impact on them within the next 24 hours. Because I've seen people that will talk about AI for the last 24 months. I've seen it. Corporate world, everybody knows corporate world has like this billions in budgets, but they're like, who here uses AI? Do we have AI? Wait, what's going on? What's that disconnect? Well, the vendors got paid. It's just that users never got told how to start using it in 24 hours, right?
Plus, like in the corporate world, like I come from the corporate world, so this is what I was part of it. So mostly their priority was, I believe, based on my experience, their priority was offloading the brains into the AI model. So like, they have this, all this documentation, I should have it so that if customer want to search something or want to learn about the feature, they should chat. They have the chat box, but it's to respond to within, like you don't have to reach A, B, C to get that expert. Now you type it and you have to, right away you can tell the customer, this is what the answer is or response is. So they have this tool, whether it's a data access or the chatbot live, but it's more about offloading the brains of those people into that so that
That's the shiny object on top of the mountain.
Yeah,
right?
that's what
Shiny objects on top of the mountain. Because in the valley, the work is really, really hard.
Absolutely.
Right? So the work that nobody wants to do, vendors are skipping that work to say, well, you're not going to do the work, neither am I. So why don't I just give you what it is that you think will work, and then you can start using it. And you will definitely pay for it, because your pocket will tell you this has good ROI. But it did. Because again, the data feed, it comes from the valley. You have to push it up the mountain to get it to a use case like yours. Chatbots are a perfect example, right, of what could go wrong or what is it you can actually do with AI, right? So artificial intelligence, like you said, the brain dump, right? Artificial intelligence, the way I coin it is to say it's augmenting intelligence. If it's not augmenting intelligence, forget about it. There's no need for artificial anything. I hate artificial sweeteners. I don't like artificial intelligence either. What I like is the part that is augmenting intelligence. So when you're using AI, you shouldn't be saying, I just said it. You shouldn't be saying, I'm using AI, I'm working with an AI. That is the true AI, one that you can work with, rather than say, like, I use it. If you use it, I can guarantee you it stops working as soon as you turn it off. Because if you think about chatbot, you can do many, many things. As long as that chatbot is alive and working 24 hours a day, that's the chatbot. But the chatbots that we have is one that we use and we forget, right? Because it's forgetting also, right? It's not keeping up with what we just said 24 days ago, 24 months ago. So again, the vendors will not do the work that is actually hard. The vendors will do what's easy, and they can give it to you and let you carry the burden of raising it, paying the subscription for it, changing diapers and all that.
And here's the thing. There's this fear mongering that's happening, and everybody's talking about AI is going to replace us. Well, certainly not, but people that know how to use AI absolutely will. And I think that the first step is moments like this, where you're putting yourselves in a couple of positions where you're saying, hey, I maybe I'm not equipped with extreme literacy there, but I want to get there. And here's the thing, we're still so early that you have the chance to become one of the 1%ers that have the information that the rest of the 99% are years away from home. So we want to give you a little bit more context around our backgrounds and our expertise that we've been able to accrue here in this space. I'll let you kick it off, Steve.
Yeah, so I started when I was born. That's why I'm so young and so good at this. I started at age 1. So I started in the U.S. Air Force for 10 years. When I did 10 years in the Air Force, I came across a lot of hardware with no intelligence whatsoever. And that's the U.S. military, right? So when we talk about AI, we talk about AI from a very theoretical perspective, knowing that artificial intelligence actually exists in the U.S. military since the 1950s. The same tools that you're seeing today, U.S. military had these in the 1950s. One example that I always use is a dog and a cat image. If you think about it, if you like to Google it right now, the first information about the dog and the cat image, how to separate a dog and a cat, will be on a Google image from 2014 to 2012. Yeah. It will say ImageNet, ResNet, and all this. We did this back in 1948, where the same dog and cat picture, the black and white of it, took a picture of it and tried to say, how do we have it identify what's a dog and a cat, right? So that's the process of identifying and labeling and making decisions, right? U.S. military has been doing this for ages, to be exact, 70-some years, right? So when we talk about AI and hardware in the military, we talk about it from the drone perspective, from detection perspective, early insight perspective. But main operating systems that I focused on was Linux. So, you know, if anybody knows anything about Linux, they will say Linux is your data guy, right? If you're a data guy, you're gonna have to love Linux. Otherwise, Windows is not gonna help you, right? MacBook pretends like, you know, it has it, but it's all Linux under MacBook. So I became a Linux administrator and operator, and then got into ethical hacking, right? So that means, you know, instead of just seeing the data feed go in and out, how do we protect that data, but how do we break that data feed into pieces and then say, here's your vulnerability. If you don't fix that, somebody else can break it as well and demand ransom. So that pen testing, kind of by the time I got good at this, I realized it's just way too much security stuff. There's no way we can ever cover security. Security will never end. I need something that ends at one point, right? So what's worse than security? Data. So I got into the data world not realizing how wide the data is actually, right? The data has been one of the most confusing things I've ever dealt with, right? Because of how entangled it gets, how messy it can get, and how dirty it is all the time. No matter how much you're trying to clean up, it gets dirty again, right? So
yeah, that's where like I feel that something which is missing is you have this data continuously coming in
yes,
and you are analyzing it, but then nobody's looking in cleaning and compressing the data because over the time, how you meet, right?
no, yeah, exactly. First 30 days, your AI vendor gives you a perfect demo.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh my God, it works so beautifully. It's day 60 when the data is piling up and nobody's taking care of it all of a sudden. So I became a subject matter expert of ETL, right? ETL means that extraction, transforming, and loading of data. So wherever data lives, you have to bring it over here, call it pick up and drop off of data. And I became the guy in the middle who has to pick up the data from here and clean it and deliver it over here, right? So I did that for the last 10 years now. So first 10 years of so far, I would say it's been machine learning. There's no AI for me. And you hear me say that over and over. I'm like, I'm not an AI guy. I don't like being an AI guy. Because there's nothing artificial that I like. I like things that are real that actually does work. And machine learning is the only one that does work. 2015, about 11 years ago, I worked on a machine learning project based on a database. So I'm a subject matter expert of database and the ETL. I work with AWS on their ETL tool, which is actually a machine learning crawler. They don't call it an AI crawler. That's a machine learning crawler that takes 6 months of work in the database space to 6 hours, if not 6 days, right? Huge difference, and removes almost all the manual work in the process.
So in this machine learning, like it's one is to learn it, second is to remember it.
Memory.
Yeah, memory skills to do that. Because like I was thinking something like, let's say I'm starting a business. I made some decision 6 months ago. It didn't work out. And like after 8 months or 1 year or 2 years, I might be making the same decision. You made this decision and this is what your output was.
You can own that memory. You can own that memory instead of buying that. You don't even have to go to Best Buy. You can do it on your desktop. That memory saving is crucial. Like no matter what business I talk to these days, no matter what stage they're in, if they're 25 years old or 25 seconds old, I tell them the same thing. If you're not doing this memory piece, you're gonna suffer tremendously because you're losing all this work that you're doing and it's nowhere to be recalled 6 months from now. And you have to do it in the desktop because that's what large language model and AI enables you to do that 10 years ago. I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have done, see 10 years ago, if I kept a record of what I did 10 years ago, I'd be somewhere different today, right? It's just that back in those days, it was impossible to do, but today with AI, it's like either you do it or you don't do it, but you have to do it. That's a must, right?
I think there's a big paradigm shift that we're realizing that, you know, the conventional and legacy systems were systems of record. However, today, any tool that is, you know, that has a right to exist years from now is a system of intelligence. So yeah, you're feeding it data in real time, you're giving it context, and it's able to make, basically analyze this data. It's a process called data annotation, where it's like, you know, essentially piping through the LLM. I want to keep everything kind of at a high level. I don't want to go too deep. That's my computer science brain. But long story short, because we have deep systems of intelligence, You want to give it all the context as possible and give it the
Lot of
training of
context.
what are the outcomes that we need,
So-
and it'll parse for us.
So to put it more generic, right, the high level, so what your thought, like, if I putting that off memory, so you wanted like all these AI tool downloaded on your laptop and put those assets, or it's because one way to say, oh, you're running from the cloud or browser, right? Second is that you put it, how you do that, to have that memory.
You have to do an extra step that we don't think necessarily. That's not part of our processes of doing things. I'll take it back to this.
Markdown files, MD files.
And MD files is exactly what I'm talking about, right? But I'll take it back to your memory like this. 2015, when you're using a Word document, what happened if you turned off your laptop and you saved it?
It's gone.
It's gone, right? It's gone because that was the process back then. So today, you don't have to think about saving anymore. So that MD file, the Markdown file, is where your saving comes back to your brain process again, right? You have to do that. You have to do it, not because I'm telling you, you have to do it for your sake of, if you develop anything, no matter what the product is, you'll have a challenge from thousands and millions of other people worldwide developing the same product. But if you can create that MD file that is your business intelligence, that's your book of business, right? And that is your product that you can actually sell. Like I talked about the data feed from the small business to corporate, your Markdown file becomes your asset actually, because that's part of your portfolio of data asset management, right? So people have like asset management, like real estate portfolio. Now they have to have a data portfolio.
So
that data
basically,
portfolio
what you're saying is that MD file is monetized.
monetized. You have to monetize it because
Indeed.
not everybody's going to have the same pain points as you. They're not going to remember the pain point, but you solved it on your MD file.
I kicked off talking about context is king. Well, essentially that markdown file, this is where you store that context, and it's, you know, essentially every single new prompt needs to reference said context. So that, you know, this is how you pipe and give it expected outcomes as a criteria and say, okay, I need to abide by these in real time. And I think we are maybe going a little bit ahead, so I want to give a little bit of context. Thank you
Your introduction.
so much. I want to share with you guys, I'm Joshua Berry, 6-year entrepreneur, studied computer science in college, and in 2020 recognized that you know, I really wanted to immediately start to contribute, and so started a not-for-profit. We've been able to teach over 10,000 students across the country in inner cities like Chicago, Detroit, Baltimore. Now, of course, in Dallas, we have many partnerships with school districts where we've been able to teach these young individuals about STEM and coding. And then, of course, a few years ago, 3 years into that journey, ChatGPT changed everything, and we pivoted and became an AI literacy. But we really, you know, sought to deliver this to K-12 just because, you know, they are now AI native by default, whereas they're not going through all these learning curves. If they have to unlearn so much, they are, you know, clean states. And so we've been able to, you know, build like now an army of really, really talented, you know, and it's like, it's nowadays they're labeled this because, you know, in the old part, you had one skill set and you like could be a jack of that trade. But today, you know, through these AI agents and AI tool sets, you can be a video editor, you can be a copywriter, you can be a coder, and all these things are ultimately you having fundamental understanding what your output needs to be and allowing these agents to deliver on your behalf. But in that journey, some 4 years ago, I also did start a software company where now we serve companies across the country with many enterprise customers that use our AI tools to help their bottom line and also equip and upskill their staff. So big on education. You know, that's the biggest thing. That's why we do these experiences because it's really important that we don't get left behind. And so this AI thing, as mighty as it will be, and it's really very much today shaping up to be, it's really important that, you know, we get equity in it. And that's what today's about. Thanks, brothers. So,
Hey design, we gotta talk about hey design.
of course, hey design guys.
This who's put it together. You know?
Yeah, my partner in crime, LeVar, is not joined with us today, but him and I, we actually are Tech Tradesmith Institute and Fuel the Future.
TTI, that's the name.
Tech Tradesmith Institute is our trade school.
Well, what is it again?
Tech Tradesmith Institute.
Tech Trades.
Absolutely. Well, go, there's a slide here, just a bit,
Yeah.
goes a little bit
You
deeper
love the slides.
into.
Matter of fact, what I'm gonna do at the end of this is gonna send you a markdown. So anytime you use a large language model, you're gonna take that markdown file and say, I spent 2 hours in this place. What do I need to know based on what I just asked you? So if you say something about you have a specific problem, type that into the prompt. So you're not looking at the markdown file, you're actually using the information from the markdown file.
So the world is moving fast. Social media. All right, so these are 3 stats that are insane, but they're super relevant, right? 77% of businesses plan to use AI within the next 2 years. Only 30% of current work tasks could be automated by 2030. I think this number has to be updated. It's looking more closer to 50. And higher average earnings for 40%, 40% higher average earnings for workers using AI tools. What I see when I look at these stats are leverage. Today's opportunities mean if I'm able to position myself with maximum leverage and understanding, I benefit from all of these stats. I benefit from being a subject matter expert that goes into a business and says, hey, you guys fundamentally are trying to build a strategic plan. However, none of you deeply understand AI. Let me contract with you guys, let me consult with you guys and bring you into the new era of business. 30% of current work tasks. The automation piece, today, these AI agents can do a lot of automation, but, you start to realize that, okay, if I'm able to, again, leverage my understanding, this can automate X, which frees me up to actually bring intense leverage to higher level creative tasks, higher level, outputs and strategic outputs. This is fundamentally why, they start talking about, oh, it's going to destroy 100,000 jobs. Well, it's actually going to create 240,000 jobs, right? And it's like, it's instead of allowing the fear mongering to take hold, let's take this opportunity and be hopeful and say, hey, let's win in the industry of tomorrow. It's like, in 1908, if you were saying, I'm not ready for it to give up my horse. This is where people are today, and time repeats itself.
I got a job statistics here that I really want to share because of you guys' age range. My age range, his age range. The biggest frustrations that I've had over the last 6 months is people, since Claude Code came out, everybody's just got into this high horse called software engineers and disappeared. Absolute BS. I cannot emphasize that enough. So if you guys are go out there talking to people, like, if you want to become anything in life, become a software engineer. Because they're talking about software engineers and disappear. Absolute BS, because they don't understand what a structure looks like under the AI, right? So this 30% that you're looking at right now, this 30%, even if it's 50, this represents only 1% of everything that we can automate in the industry. This number is based on the involvement of the computers, involvement with those devices around the homes that have internet connections. If you just think about that for a second, the amount of IoT you have here, now spread that across the globe, add more IoT, more devices. We actually have that. That's the kind of capability we have. Like we have IPv6 now, so we can put a device in every square inch of the planet. We can, if we have the hardware capacity. So this 30% is based on the hardware, the limitations of hardware we have right now. That's 1%. And hardware is growing into a level that we can place that every corner of the world, quote unquote. Now imagine how many software engineers we will need to develop a system to have this hardware actually talk to each other and work with each other. Because AI is not going to be able to do that unless there's a system engineer. So software engineers, they're known as software guys. And that's what they're saying, like, oh, AI is going to eat the software cake. AI is not going to be able to eat the software cake. AI cannot eat the system. System has to be done by software engineers, and software engineers are your system engineers. So that message needs to be really going through everybody's head, because if you know anything about data and hardware and software, you can see how software is vulnerable. I know, but guess what? Software is going to only expand this way. Absolutely. Your problem is that your hardware is not expanding fast enough. So the hardware market that nobody's paying attention to right now, because NVIDIA is the only $5 trillion company on the planet, guess what NVIDIA is? It's a hardware company, right? So something to think about when you think about the job challenges, 240,000 jobs that we'll create. Well, that's because 99% of the work is still not done yet. I got pumped up about that one. Yeah. Because kids are losing their mind about the degree program that they've been in for 3 years, and here comes a person from somewhere out of nowhere says, "Oh, software engineer is going to be good." Absolute bonkers. Not true at all.
So the big thing today, again, there's a lot of interactivity that's going to come as we start to show you guys a few demos because, again, in today's time, this advantage that we have is to seek as much leverage in these skill sets that, again, people are years away from picking up on, right? So the business that learn to use it now, the entrepreneurs, the individuals, the consulting firms will outbuild and outgrow everyone else. This is just a fact, right? So we're talking about launching faster, being able to validate an idea, get a draft out, and have a landing page in a week. I mean, literally in a day. In a day. It's really crazy. All right, growing leaner. There is a very clear reality that's happening at many firms right now, especially software engineering firms. I mean, funny enough, I started coding when I was 10, and if you would have told me that, this would be where we're at, just under 20 years later, it's crazy. But today, a team of 10 engineers are able to output what 150 engineers could have done in 2007. This is a fact. And I think at Google, they're putting, there was a study that was done by McKinney at Google, and they said today's, because obviously these are some of the world's leading engineers at Google, 100 engineers today can output as much as 1,000 of Google 2006 engineers. This is insane. I mean, we're 10xing ourselves. So I think that you guys made it very clear to us that as you are stepping into that entrepreneurial, that career change, that small business and operator format, what we're doing today as the initial foundation, we continue to build up from here, right? This is why we cater these moments and these experiences for this exact group. As we continue to do this 3-month series, it's all about catering to these audiences because, again, we cannot let the Microsofts, the NVIDIAs get all of the leverage here, right? We must equip our communities because ultimately, who else is going to do it? And, I feel extremely confident everything that Asif has done and all the knowledge that he'll continue to distribute today, and the knowledge that you guys are gonna actually get to feel the AGI in your demos today. It becomes very clear that in our entire economy, as more and more people start to use these skill sets, these tools, it's actually going to stimulate the economy like never before. I think we're heading fast towards a world of abundance, and that's the world that we've dreamed of, I think, for a while.
True.
And one of the things that we want to know is about you, right? We want to curate this for you, so that way, even there's just something in the slide that everybody can get something away from it, we want to know about you, so everything we talk about from the slides is going to be about you, right? So my first question to you is, you said you use ChatGPT, but what is the future state that you see where you're like, ChatGPT is just a legacy system now? Like how advanced?
So my whole thought process was how I can duplicate my stuff with the AI tool. So I don't want to, I have more hours to do stuff. So just a little bit of my background. So I was a telecom engineer, professional, and then last 10 years of my corporate world, I was a part of the sales. So like front end sales, leading the sales, right? So the things I wanted to do is the sales kind of stuff, right? So I wanted to automate maximum stuff, for example, email responding, my search that I do for the business acquisition also. So I have like a couple of website brokers names and then my billbox criteria. So I see it automatically look for that and build that one region that screen those deals. Then I have the tools, the Excel based tool, put those numbers based on the scenes like the P&L and everything, and run my analysis based on my criteria of debit to service ratio and see how much outlook I can filter. And the third engine that give me say, okay, out of this week, we have 2 opportunities that meet your criteria of your selections. Then I don't have to scroll like my hours. Currently, I'm spending too much hours on going to each of this and then ask for that, and then I could read all the scenes and then I put numbers. If I like it, then I have to put manually all those numbers to the Excel file and then run those those numbers and see this, whether it's meet or not, right?
You
So
actually
that-
did
that-
sales for 10 years. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is a salesperson talking.
definitely.
Because everybody is like, wait, you do all of that? That's a sales profession right there. Love
Yeah,
it.
so I wanted to automate that so that I focus on talking to people, understanding the issue, instead of me doing all those hours of,
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, so that's a digital twin, and the best part of what you're saying is RPA, right? So UiPath will take your daily activities of clicking. So just to clarify, like say you want to build a digital twin, right? But that digital twin will have an expertise that is to do click management, right? Because that's what you're doing. You're doing a lot of clicks, right? And click management. Now going back to the context piece of it, the clicking has to have a context behind it. You cannot just click any part of the pixels in your screen here. It has to be able to say, if I click on who, it's gonna tell me something, right? If I click on here, it's gonna tell me something else. But it's based on your digital twin's capability. Because you're the salesperson, there's a buyer on the other side. But the buyer also has a digital twin. So this is something that we talk about, like, right now you're using ChatGPT, but in the future you're looking at ChatGPT like, that's a legacy system. I don't use that anymore. Right? So the two agents, one your digital twin, a buyer's digital twin. Now there's two agents talking. You are no longer in the scene. You're not in the picture. You're just looking at the agents like, do you need my help today? No? Okay, cool. And the buyers are going to do the same thing. They're like, do you need my help today? No? Okay, digital twin. There's two agents that are talking to each other because they learned this click methodologies. Now check this out. You've done this for 10 years, right? If you have collected this information for the last 10 years, where would you be today? Because the system that learned all this clicking that you do on your screen, it sees a pattern. It sees that repetition over and over. It sees that you go to ebay.com between 9:30 to 10:30 every day, and you are clicking on these things. Because the context that we didn't have 10 years ago, we have it today. So the future that we want to be in is where 10 years later you said, like, I taught my digital twin everything I click on, everything I click on, why I click on it, and I give it context. So it's sort of like raising a child. Right? An assistant that's going to be a 10-year-old by the time it turns 20, it knows exactly what you did for the last 10 years, why you do it repetitively, and who are you actually? Because a salesperson that buys cars versus salesperson that is buying a car motors or car parts is two different persons, right? They're both sellers, they're both buyers. So exactly what you're saying, you have a lot of these functions and steps that you have to go through, which I call it click management, because when we did a project in DoD, it was about task management. Right? You sit down and say, like, what does your task look like on a day-to-day basis if I give you this task? Well, that's 750 clicks. How do we turn that into 7 clicks? That's a challenge, right? So we'll have a hackathon around 7 clicks in automation, right? 750 clicks, 5 days ago. 7 days later, now we're doing 7 clicks and we're getting the job done, right? So yeah, I think you, like you said, you're a salesperson, so you're gonna have to give us a lot of these terminologies that we're not gonna understand. But I'm looking forward to learning about this.
Y'all want to see our new toolkit?
Yeah.
All right, so these tools are super, super powerful. All right, so obviously ChatGPT is the 50-foot giant. We're all familiar. How many of you have heard of Claude? Claude, yeah. Gemini, of course. Really, I use all 3 of these. Gemini is my personal, I must admit, but Claude is very powerful now. I am a software engineer, so I use Claude Code. But I went fast. OpenAI has come up with this thing called Codex, which is similar to Claude Code. It helps my entire development team code so much more. It's actually bananas. Manus. This is an autonomous agent. This is UiPath, like what they were able to do with RPA. I think that now it's been democratized with agents that understand natural language in a way that you give it instead of it's not really chatting. You're not having a conversation with it. You're actually just giving it a task to go do, and it will autonomously go and complete that task. For example, I use a tool called Perplexity Computer, very, very similar to Manus, and it's actually mind blowing what it's about to do right now. So I want to give y'all a very quick visibility. I'll try to real quick have it just touch base on it, but I'm using computer now. So it's ready for me to give it a task. And what I'm actually going to say, I'm going to say, I want to start a new task. And so, or for example, I'll give y'all a very clear example of what this looked like. a few months ago, or a few weeks ago, I went back. I did a contract built out for a content creator that is on TikTok. He has, several tens of thousands of creators. We were going to pay him an upfront fee and a back end fee. And what we were going to do is it went and it read and it created a markdown file of context. It also told me it's creating a content. It wrote a script. It generated the doc file and it shared it to me. All it needed, and then it wrote that script using JavaScript. What it did was it shared the file back to me, and I said, okay, this looks pretty good. I'm not mad at this at all. He's an independent creator, perfect. And then I said, well, I like this, and it told me what it actually did in terms of the scope of work, who the parties were. So it comes back to me. As I looked at it, I said, hey, this is ready to go. Email this to him with his business email. It then compiled the actual email in real time and then sent it. Hey, I sent it for you. I was not conversating back and forth with it. It got two parts from me. Hey, do this thing. I reviewed it. Hey, send it.
How you reached to that point?
I mean, natural language.
You don't have to teach him anything, like it directly doing the task.
It dynamically does the text because what did I do? I connected my Gmail. So there's all these powerful connectors. You're going to connect maybe your Slack. Internally, for example, we use a tool called Codex as well. Every single morning, my Slack triage, I open up Codex. I say, hey, review my Codex and tell me which all my team members need my attention today. It'll go and review 17 different team members and my connections and conversations. Tell me, hey, you know what? I went through this. These are things that you need to touch on. I went ahead and drafted replies. Do you want me to send them? As I review them, and I'm like, send them. Boom. Right? So I'm not even copying and pasting, throwing it into a prompt, telling it to write a prompt out. That was what people did 6 months ago. We're on the cutting edge.
So basically you don't have to write anything. So in this Codex, somebody already preloaded those software. So you just have to provide the task. That's what my understanding is, right?
Well, yes. The biggest component is your context is already out there. Your Gmail is your context. What you're doing is you're connecting these materials. You can connect your Word suite. You can connect your Slack. You can connect your we use ClickUp, but things like Asana, things like these Kanban boards that, because you're using so many all existing today, you have so many software accounts. The idea is to bring those accounts because those are your markdown files now.
So now you have to connect to all the platform, like for example.
You want to show them the connectors on the?
Absolutely.
Yeah, show them the connectors.
Evidence.
So this is Perplexity, and the connectors are available on most of the other tools.
So
There's some sort of connectors there.
so I have it connected to my Robinhood. So I'm like, hey, what stock? How did my stocks do today? Go ahead and add more money, and it literally has connections to my wallet. So it will literally throw more money in. So Google that. Hey, what do I need to get done today? Help me get these things done. If it's a few emails, it'll do them for me on my behalf, knowing what my context is. OneDrive, Notion, so whatever tools you use. I'm not saying it has everything, but there's a term. I don't want to go too technical, but there's a thing called Model Context Protocol, which basically is an API. APIs and software.
It's like you're looking for data feed. You want some data. You want some data to come in so you can make a decision.
Yeah, one data source to your data source. This is where, yes, these are prefab, and all you gotta do is authorize your accounts. But nowadays, most platforms, again, over the next few years, if you have a right to exist, means you have a publicly accessible MCP where you can connect your system of record, again, the old systems of record, system of intelligence, to a front. And delete on my behalf. So what it's actually going to do is it's going to ask me, can I continue without using, I'm going to allow it to actually
I'm spending almost my 10-15 minutes in the morning just to remove the junk in that.
So just answer your question. I'm gonna tell her yes, I'm gonna give it this task. I think it's connected to one of my other accounts, but I don't see that kind of what the demo is, and it's doing the work.
But how he knows it's a junk versus?
So there's of course, very clear, like, I mean, email's been around for so long that there are certain markers to look out for. And just like Gmail by default has that spam indicator where there's that filtration that's taking place, very similar. So I know that that's a giddy, fun, quick demo that kind of shows you like, okay, like RPA on steroids.
These
would have been-
connectors are only for, like, they also for the ChatGPT, clouds, everything, or it's just?
So yeah, so today you can connect, Claude is basically, Claude invented the MCP thing, API, so Model Context Protocol, absolutely. GPT supports them, Gemini supports them, and now OpenAI and Anthropic, yes, they have agents. One is called Claude Code, or Claude Code, which is an agent similar to Manus, similar to Perplexity Computer. GPT, their version is called Codex, it's an agent. And then Gemini next week is their IO, and they're gonna unveil their agent.
So just to kind of throw something in there, ChatGPT and Claude, you have ChatGPT. Do you have any of them?
I've used
ChatGPT. So ChatGPT Codex that he mentioned, if you have a paid subscription, it's on your desktop. It's working on your Excel file from your desktop, similar to how the browser was working. Now in Claude, if you're using Claude, and I know you mentioned Excel sheet, you can download Claude in your Excel sheet, and it will work on your Excel sheet. So you're not necessarily looking at the columns and rows. You're actually on the side chat bar just telling Claude, find me a tab that has this information in it, right? If it does it can make that tab for you and formulate all the things that you need in macros that you never even opened. Macros are running on its own inside of Excel. That's the power of Claude. And one of the things that I don't want to take a dig at Microsoft in case somebody's listening. Microsoft has Copilot on the Excel sheet, but you want to get the Claude, so that way you have it on your Excel sheet because you said you wanted the Excel sheet. But before, I have a question, but please do introduce yourself as well because I want to learn more about, where you are and what do you think is the legacy 10 years down the road for you?
So my name is Timothy Jackson. I go by Tim. I worked in corporate America since I was 21. I'm now 53. So I have over 25 years of corporate experience, mortgage, customer service, sales, credit cards, bankruptcy, you name it, pretty much called junior underwriting. We did loan officer work. So now I'm just trying to get my own business going. So I wish I would have transitioned a long time ago, but I'm here. I took a digital marketing course in 2023, graduated in 2024. It was a year course. I did it in 6 months. Because I'm really trying to expedite my life and get my own business, ready to get my own income. Kind of got derailed, went through a divorce last year, it was unexpected. So I'm kind of like climbing back up, trying to get back to where I was. Got some good news, confirmation that my life will change because I'm due some you get when you go through a divorce. So that's going to help me out a lot. But in the meantime, I want to grasp this as quickly as possible. I met Boulevard. That's how I met him at the KG store. I was sales over there, fashion sales. That's how I met him. And so he kind of introduced. We got to talking, and so he introduced me to what he was doing. So that's how I ended up here. I'm interested in investing, stocks, crypto. I guess anything that I can get myself off the ground to make income. Because I have a lot of things, but if I can narrow it down, that's what I'm here for, to you guys' expertise. You said something about legacy.
Yeah.
What do you ask?
Yeah, so like, I think you're kind of going down that same path of like, you need somebody to help you invest. You need somebody to automate this process for you.
Yes, sir.
Kind of just going back to the Manus over here, it is that agent that you need, right? Now, let me tell you something about crypto and things that you were talking about with finance, right? So financial side of things, it's the silo that's about $2 trillion worth, just the services alone, right? Not the amount of money that it does transactions with. So this $1 trillion industry, the biggest breakthrough right now is the agents that are A2A protocol, agent to agent protocol. An agent to agent protocol is based on Google. And these protocols are what they're creating is this opportunity of what I talked about earlier, right? A digital twin talks to another digital twin, right? It talks on his behalf, and then as it's talking through the processes, negotiating the rates, negotiating the price, and all that, it's happening between two digital twins, which quote unquote is the agent. But agent can be somebody that is just like, hey, I'm an agent, I do this piece.
Right.
But he doesn't say that. Like, I do this. That's the full digital twin. Agent says, I have wallet, and this other agent has a paper. That other agent over there has the documents. That other paper, what was said about some of the background is debt collection, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
that other one is the agent debt collector. That's not a digital twin. That's spread out agents, right?
Right.
So now you have a digital twin that says, yeah, I got the wallet, and I can represent the debt collection information. I can represent the document information. I can execute the contract if you like me to. So that digital twin is a whole nother level of agents that these systems are developing and providing. They're siloed, right? So in the financial industry, of course, they don't do anything unless it's guaranteed to work. Guaranteed to work not because you think it's good or 100 other people think it's good, it's because it has to go through a process of auditing and compliance, right? GRCs. So these agents that you're going to use, the digital twin that you're going to use, I would say this is how you start. And again, going back to the Markdown file, I will never stop talking about Markdown file because that is the best thing you can do in next 20 minutes, because I'm going to give you one, and then you can start from there, right? So you think about a digital twin perspective, the business that you're going to have, and legacy systems that you're going to look back and say, these are the legacy systems, right? Because I'm going to use my digital twin that is going to live on the edge, and that's another one that we probably not going to talk about too much about. Like,
Edge, can you repeat again? Sorry. So basically, where I missed the disconnect is you have these too many tools, right?
Yes.
ChatGPT, Cloud, Gemini, and so all the stuff. And where I'm not able to see is, okay, creating a digital twin, but it will be on one of the platforms. So if these are getting redundant in 5-10 years, so where is, because my digital twin is on one platform, right?
You're able to export. So the really cool thing is there's interoperability in all of these. Again, the same way that you are bringing your connectors to, you have to imagine that, at the time that there are new systems to replace these and make them redundant, well, you're able to export, again, all of that context out and drop it as a markdown file. Literally, again, there's very high relevance to that markdown thing.
doesn't cost anything.
You'll export it out. So it's like a migration that takes place in a matter of minutes because you're exporting one file, you're feeding into the new system of intelligence, and it will continue those flows.
So to start with, let's say I have digital twin. So first of all, I have to create a digital twin on all these platforms, or just one?
Okay, we'll talk about digital twin. Maybe say at the end of this, because let's go through some of these tools here. It will also have that you can reverse engineer from digital twin down to these,
Okay.
right? Yeah. So there's steps to get to the digital twin. It's like kind of building a brain. Your brain was built over the years they have lived rather than overnight. These are kind of like in the early stages of.
Yeah, that's where I felt that, like, when I started using ChatGPT, I was under impression, and that's what my learning said, that you have to train them to think according to you. So that's why I was surprised when he did the task. You don't have to train them anymore.
Oh, he still has a little bit of context that he provides.
Right.
Context is the key.
You got it. So, and that's where we're really excited to get you guys some exposure, and I'll be able to hand out my laptop to give you direct experience.
Which me and Jim was talking, so this must be big, 'cause I keep meeting people that's doing this. He's working on a project and he wants to come, so we'll try to make sure the next time we have him come. But he was telling me something about, we got to talking about the bots to do trading. And I was also watching a video, because that's what I've been doing, I've been watching a lot of videos lately. And they were saying that there are multiple bots to, like, sound like this, you guys are saying the exact same thing, to do different tasks.
Sure.
And what he told me, he said that because in trading, the SEC only allows you to execute the trade. Like, you can't do too many trades in one day. That's against the SEC. He said that what these guys are doing, the reason that they're exponentially making their money, hundreds of thousands a month, is that they got multiple bots that are training. And because they're different bots, the SEC hasn't regulated the cryptocurrency to stop them.
Yeah.
So it's like you got 10 or 15, 20 bots working, they're executing numbers of trades throughout the day, making you all this money. So that's how they're able to do it. So it kind of sounds like it's similar to what you guys are saying, that you train this bot to do a task. Is that kind of correct?
Yeah, yeah. So the bots are something that does something specific.
Right.
So let's say, for example, task management. Your task management is to go through these steps and make $100,000 in a month, right? But these bots have to do this in synchrony. So we call it orchestration, right? That orchestration piece is what you have to own, because these pieces, you cannot own these, right? But there's an orchestration between layers and layers and layers here. These orchestration you own. And that's what I think is where the small business stands to gain, because big corporation pays millions of dollars to have this orchestration between these systems, right? And then between these systems, there's the connectors that he's talking about, right? So you're working up to a level that is like, where do I fit in? Because these guys fit into your life very easily. Where do I fit in where I can take the ownership of the data, build this for myself, and you can see where the questions are coming from.
So
there is a connectors and then there is a orchestration between them.
absolutely.
You'll see a lot of orchestration. Yeah.
So as we get into these practical workflows, I'm going to speed through this. Essentially, 4-prong system, right? Bringing your actual workflows. The applicability is in the context that you're inputting in, but with the output, you know what the output needs to be. Again, so this is why you are still human in the loop. However, when you allow the agent and understand that we've moved beyond you're having a conversation with an agent, or I'm sorry, with the chatbot, instead you're delegating tasks to an agent. However, it needs to understand what your expected outcome is, and it will try hard to get there. So there, you're prompting for sure, but you're not having back and forth conversation. What you're actually doing is giving it a task and just giving backloading with front end context. The brand systems. Now, what's really cool here is, as you know, you start to get into not only a certain amount of context, connectors, but also these MD files, which actually is going to allow the system of intelligence to know, always revert back to, or keep it in line with our brand. Your MD file will actually have, you know, down to the colors, to which logos, to which, you know, what is the font and italic use cases, like that brand, for everything to be cohesive in order to look like it was from you. Over time, you'll train it, and it actually will always output based on that. So you don't just have a high five of different interfaces every time you want to output something. The operational efficiency, I mean, you know, down to where every morning you check. Like, it's so crazy over the last few months, I don't wake up and read a hodgepodge of different tech publications, emails, nor Slack messages, which literally was basically the first hour of my day job when I drink my coffee. Now I'm reading digests and I'm allowing it to make action on my behalf. And then, of course, the networking piece, right? Being able to allow you all to, and all of us kind of fellowship, and as we continue to use. So these demos, we're going to do 4 10-minute demos over the next 40 minutes, which are going to give you guys a lot of context before we land the plane. And I see if it's going to kind of expose you a little bit deeper with these digital twins. So let's go ahead and get in gear, because, yeah, it's really important to give that maximum, these 4 minutes, these 10 minutes, 4 flows.
I'm sorry, did you say that we'll have access to this information?
Oh yes, absolutely. So, I'm actually, the really cool thing that
I'm sorry, I didn't break your glasses.
It's just a link. I'm just gonna send you a link,
Okay.
and that link, it's not gonna have the MD file, but the MD file will actually be actual file.
So, for example, we're gonna write a week of social posts. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hand you this. I'm gonna actually open up Gemini for you. If you use ChatGPT, whatever your design, like your main AI is, you wanna go ahead and get that pulled up. And then I'm gonna have that prompt that you're gonna load in. And in your use case, we can just open it for you. I'm gonna have you, again, writing 5 platforms, 1 prompt, 5 minutes. So we actually have what that prompt is gonna be. So I'm gonna copy and paste this for you. And then we're gonna let you load in your custom context outside of just the.
So we create a new project.
Yeah.
In ChatGPT.
I like that. You're creating a project instead of a chat.
Yeah.
That's good.
Run voice. So that's for the cloud. I can use it for ChatGPT too, right?
Right.
Yes.
So basically, you're gonna, and you could use the speak button to input so that you don't have to write it all. So, and
So say that.
You just gotta tell your name, your
but, yeah,
business.
starting. So those fields you want to enter your, again, that's the moment that your context is gonna make this why it's a differentiated output for both of you guys separately.
So I just kind of make that up, that word that says business type.
Yeah. Yeah, basically, insert your your business. So basically, I know the action, and you tell
What
me
is
like,
what is the value one value two?
sorry.
What is the value one value two?
What are you would bring your values? So what are your values?
Based on my.
So that they can understand, like if you're training. The big idea here is going to give you guys, it's going to showcase its long form reasoning.
So.
I mean, ultimately, for example, my values are educational integrity, and I care deeply about one of the things that I care about deeply. That's that it again, you're feeding it the context on you, not me. I know what your values are.
How do I have to be racist?
You would go you could edit it, and so do you want to erase the whole thing, or do you just go ahead?
Income from home to supplement their income, also to do ministry as well. So the
So
Power word is like we have to put something a list of power word or it's just a power word?
yeah, that's the actual prompt because you want it's going to output that for you.
I don't have to put anything.
Absolutely. And so I'll tell you one use case, for example, and I want to give you guys something.
So what I also want to do is to have people in real estate to own their own property, to own their own homes, to make the world a better place. The main focus is to build housing for the less fortunate around the world. So I want to make sure this is a community-based community, and everyone works together in this.
Nice. Okay. So then, did you guys?
Yeah, I did it.
Kicked it in. All right. So enter. You are good. And so what's really interesting here, and for example, I'll join in this activity with you guys. So a little bit, screen's a little weird here for a sec. So for example, I use a tool called Whisperflow. So like that long form typing, I would prefer. Nowadays, I click this FN button. So I need a brain guide that is understanding my context, that I'm the CEO of Fuel the Future platforms. I run a education technology company where we build products and we go into companies, we deploy white label learning platforms for their staff, as well as their volunteers, their board members. Lastly, my values that we care deeply about are academic integrity, as well as efficiency, human-centered efficiency. And then as I input this, and it's gonna come up, it's gonna tell me I need a brain guide, da, da, da. And as it comes up with this, and similar to what you guys are doing right now, the next step in this process, as you would give it your review and say, either it's there, or maybe it's not there. But then if we take a step further, what we're gonna say is, now go ahead and prep an email launching this business to all of my potential customers and partners.
So, okay, I'm just trying to contact, right? So
Of course.
you know this one, but then when you say directly email, generally I was not interested that we used to have at least a web page or something where they can, where once you send somebody, they want to look, right? What is it, right? Where some more depth. You don't require that?
In that scenario, that's what you would do. You go right here and say, for me, in my scenario, I'm gonna click this page, Canvas. There's a similar feature. You would actually just prompt your system of work, either Canvas, I'm sorry.
Say Ken?
No, so, well,
Okay.
Canva actually is really cool AI tool, but for example, when I'm still in my interface, this chat interface, I can say something like, I need you to build a prototype website in Canvas to showcase what our company is doing. You guys can actually do a similar
Okay,
prompt.
so what do I do there? But I haven't connected Canva, so do I have to connect first?
No, so
You have Canvas in chat.
yeah, so actually you would
No, I'm saying connect.
you at this point in time, this is all native. So for example, when it's saying more, it's at that word Canvas.
Okay.
Right? And then you would actually, using that voice button, tell it, now take my brand guide and build out a static prototype of my website.
Take my brand guide and create a prototype.
You said the email.
And I tell it to make a prototype website of your brand and your verbiage and your values, all of that coming to life. So just like this, as you'll see, it came out with a very quick learning platform built for impact based off the
Okay, now make a prototype website.
Just a prototype website?
Yeah, absolutely.
We want people to focus on greatness and abundance without death and being fortunate and focus on giving back to the community and fulfilling family dreams and hopes.
amazing. Yeah.
And what program is this?
This is Gemini, which is like Google's version of ChatGPT. It's free. Everybody has access to it. If you have
Yeah,
Gmail.
build a website.
That's what I was saying, that it takes like I was, you already know the YouTube, and I was saying like he was doing the digital marketing. So I said, I have heard one YouTube video where people are creating revenue, just pick any industry, let's say restaurant, plumbing, or finance, or whatever, right? And you see, okay, go to the chambers of commerce, McKinney, or Plano, Richardson, and find those industries and put those websites, because many small businesses doesn't have their web page, and you can send this to template saying, okay, you wanted to have just $50 per site, people inside, right? And even if you get a 10 website, 10 clients, make $500.
Well, the $500 is day one. Day two, they're in maintenance. That's 5,000 a day.
Yeah.
Crazy. I'm curious. There's
So
a
I don't know what happened. So it did something. Now
I created a modern website, and then you would say, so I did actually build it out, but it's not asking, and you would say something like,
how I enable that? That's why I need it now.
oh, I see. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna enable that, and we're gonna go. I want version 2 to be optimized for the enterprise telecom clients. I also wanted to have case studies, ROI metrics, as well as a quick content form. And lastly, let's go with the modern Silicon Valley style and ensure that it actually loads in Canvas. The first time it was just code. So this, again, as we're now having it work for us, it's still a conversation to a degree, but you're seeing right now in real time, it is, if you've never done this use case,
I never done it.
right, it is that it kind of expands your brain of, okay, wait, this is a lot more powerful than I've ever given it credit.
Yeah, I was yesterday night only. I was watching a YouTube video how to create a web page. And there was a steps and saying, this is much easier.
So remember I said like day one, right? So on day one, you can develop this website the way you see it here. So day one, you are happy. Day two, you're kind of like, well, I want to do more. Day three, things get a little bit more complex. And day four, you're like, oh man, all right, where do I start again, right? Let's start all over again, right? So there's lots of learning curve. That's what you have to kind of accept, that this is a learning curve, even for programmers that's been programming for decades. So what happens is that programmers forgot that 10 years ago, they
All or should focus on one or two or three?
I think you know, right now, the funny thing is most of these AI tools, like the specifically chatbot interfaces, those surface areas, they're all converging and they all very much have a lot of feature parity. So you're not at a huge disadvantage if you just adopt one that really works for you and that you've already spent a lot of time building, like throwing your context into. That's ChatGPT. To be honest with you, it's not vastly different than what Gemini or Anthropic can do. So it is more of a here's details that you like. However, because I do see small variances of better coding performance with Claude in my use case, I use Claude a little bit more, or Perplexity Computer more. I enjoy the agentic in that because I use their proprietary browser, it actually can take over and use my screen for me, which I happen to enjoy more. So I still do use multiple interfaces, but that is because I know the very specific edge cases. However, generally speaking, they all have feature parity to where if you don't want to kind of rank between all five, which specific use case, they're all generally like ChatGPT can do all of the use cases. One just does ever so slightly better. I prefer that because I need that edge case at that moment.
So can I show this? I'm real quick. I just want to show you something because I want to talk about what's happening in the space and how fast it's maturing.
Yeah.
So
then we have this. Yeah.
So what you have here, this site that you've seen right now, it's only part of the beginning process, right? So the process is to continue forever. Okay. The process that you're talking about with domain, that will happen, and then domain is something that you have to control. But if you can take control of these early stage things that you're working on, take that and you can overutilize it, reutilize it throughout the process, right? And I think that's the key takeaway, at least for 2 hours, because you're gonna spend 20 hours trying to figure out the domain and the rest of the pieces. But this piece here is a good example of, okay, this is a blank screen. I'm just gonna show you the screen. Have you guys seen this screen before? Do you know what this is? Okay. So on your computer, you have terminal. So same thing with your computer. You have a terminal.
It's a command line interface.
It's command line interface, right? So this one, you are not using mouse anymore. You're just typing things in. So the reason we don't use it today is because it's so difficult to use, right? But now imagine you have this and you run everything off of this one because all your AI system lives here. You're no longer clicking anymore. You can just talk to this thing and this is yours. Do you see where I'm going with this? The theme here is that ownership, like ownership of your process, ownership of anything that you're delivering, you have more ownership than less.
Right.
Because at the end of the 10 years, you want to sell what you have collected for last 10 years, right? So 10 years later, this is all you will have left. Because everything else is out on somebody else's computer, but in your computer, you have everything here, right? So you can type things in and talk to it and say like, hey, look, where's this file, where's this file? Everything is in here, right? So there's another version of it that he can show you, maybe you have a codex or something like that, but that's too far in. But the reason we are talking about this one is about your data ownership. No matter how big or small you are, own your data. Like that's where the money is, right?
So how can you get to like what program would I use?
You'll get to this eventually. I'm just showing you an example because what he's showing you, these are all living in the internet. All of a sudden you bring it from the internet to your computer. Now that you bring it into your computer, all of a sudden you work differently. Your process changes, right? So a few things of here and there, the process control you have. Some things could be done by you and something has to be done for you, right? Things that are done by you, this is one example of how things are done by you because that's how easy this is. When you went outside and I was telling them that 10 years ago, we didn't want to use this. 10 years later, all we want to do is use this because 10 years later, we realized that AI helps us to do this far better, right? So I just want to use this as an example, but yeah, go ahead, sir. What was yours?
Yeah, so the biggest component here was that as you guys just gave your context, now we're going to take a step further now. And this is, you saw me do something a little bit similar, but using Perplexity Computer. And so what I'm going to do is now, all of this text, review my recent, and you're able to do this using ChatGPT if you were able to connect your either your Outlook or your Google, and with your computer, using Gemini or one of your tools, you'd be able to do something quite
So
simple.
should I create a next new project on that one?
You would keep it in the same project, but essentially make maybe a new chat. And honestly, you could keep the chat going, even though the prototype's there now. You would go about it. I'm launching this new service because it has the context on that prototype that you built. Write a week's worth of social media content. So I actually like that idea where you would just take the continuation of what we've already been doing. And so in this example, right, we're gonna say, and I think that verbiage, I want to do it directly what we kind of said here. So I'm launching a new service. Perfect. I want to read this text directly. As you'll do the same. Okay. So
But you already attach or have the LinkedIn.
no. So I'm for the sake of this showcase, it's all just in the same chat. So that
No, I'm saying because in the go to your prompt because it says but to have you already have the LinkedIn tweet and all those are connected, Instagram connected to the ChatGPT, right? Connector?
No, it's
not
not.
connected.
Yeah, no. There is no. For the sake of this, I'm using a siloed experience, but it doesn't have any like this. This account that I'm logged into has no connectors, so that can be on the ground floor with you guys.
Okay.
All right, and so as I close out this preview tab, now let's enter this demo, right? So we're going to go review my recent emails from the last 24 hours, summarize the top 3 urgent requests that require my immediate attention, and draft a polite response to them, letting them know that I am in a workshop today and will follow up with the project proposal by Monday morning. So with this text, and because I don't have a connector, sorry about that, gentlemen. There we go. Okay, so and I see a lot of the value is going to come from you guys being able to see this direct data, because this is a powerful prompt. However, without the connection of my email, you guys aren't going to be able to see. So right now, it'll try and it's going to ultimately tell me, hey, I don't have your context. Cool thing is, I'm actually about to go ahead and drop in an interface that does have my context, so that you'll see a lot of that value actually play out here. It's going to tell me, actually, it looks like it does now. Very cool. Island Chamber Foundation proposal, CCBC outreach. Perfect. And it's going ahead and drafting, hey, Charles. Right? So it came up with those 3 emails in real time. Following up, workshop today. Following up, quick something right. And so it decided to tell me what I needed to look into. Wow. Truly incredible. Okay, so I'm realizing, yeah, if I'm using Gemini, by default, it's whatever email is connected to your Gemini.
Gmail, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't, even though I don't pay for it, I have my personal email, I pay for Gemini, and it is even more powerful, more intelligent. This version is just my work email for the future. So very cool. Another really, really cool use case I really want to get into, and again, you guys being able to connect your connector, it's literally, you click the plus button in the connector suite. For you, there's a page of connectors. And then you unlock that use case that I just showed you case. And it'll be the same thing as you log into your whichever chatbot you use at home. All right, so again, that Manus piece, I really do, I'm eager to show you guys Manus as well. It's a very powerful tool. Manus. Hands-on AI, so it's an AI agent. Meta actually just bought them in. I believe that's Manus was purchased by Meta, but now they're no longer with Meta.
I think it's the Chinese disconnect. So
yeah, let's check that.
Yeah.
So they were 5 months into the purchase and decided that nope, we're not okay with it. You guys got to give us $2 billion back. It's crazy, communism. All right, so what Manus? This is me with the free plan, and it's still very, very powerful. So hey, maybe I want to create a slide deck. Let's do that. We're going to create a slide deck, an investor pitch deck, maybe quarterly sales, automate weekly team status. How about we do a weekly status report? Perfect. And it has, the tone is going to be professional. And if I wanted to click that connect apps button, then I may bring in my Asana, or I may bring in our Slack. So it has the context of what's happening in Slack, like the full library of all of my Slack messages, even if it's 10,000. That would just take a little bit of time to load in.
Of course, I've been hearing about Slack. I've been watching the video. What is that?
It's basically group
it's
messages.
my enemy. It's my enemy.
It's like a rated community for private messaging.
Yeah, it's like group messages, professional group messaging.
It's like WhatsApp, but for techies. I would say.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
techies.
businesses. I mean,
Businesses.
Salesforce.
Businesses.
It's Salesforce moved.
It's an enterprise.
It's just an enterprise suite. I went my business through Slack, and
I wish I started a long time back. Now it's too late.
45,000 messages.
It's a rated community, so you have you can create a group, for example, your HOA,
By the way,
your friends,
they have a Slack agent now that basically will proactively. It's crazy, but it's almost your digital twin, so it will respond on your behalf before you. Like, if you give it the authorization, anything that it has access and knowledge to, instead of you always having to manually be in the flow, it may actually just tell you, hey, I knew the answer to this, so I went ahead and answered on your behalf. And you don't need to give it authorization every time based on your choice. You can choose to stay in the flow, but of course, at this point in time, I've loaded so much context to my models that now it can make decisions.
And so this is what you're saying about kind of like having 10 years with the information. Basically, like, it's mimicking you. It becomes you like a place in a digital twin. And because the system has so much information on your actions, it knows like this is exactly how you're gonna breathe.
It's line by line. It has all the information. So it's kind of like if you look at an Excel sheet,
Right.
and you can look at a performance of 10 years of Excel sheet. If you know what the column and rows is reading,
Right.
you can comprehend that as a human. But how does a system comprehend who you are? So you have to give it line by line instructions and understanding of all the information. And that's what MD file does. But MD file, you're not writing it yourself. AI is writing it for you but it's saving it on a single file. So any AI that wants to read it, so say for example, you take that file from ChatGPT and now you put it in Slack, it has all the details that Slack needs to know. Does that make sense?
So even though I didn't give it much details here, what I did, because I really didn't give it any context, so I clicked one of their prefab prompts, create a weekly report, I will generate, and it's now allowing me, and it's actually in the flow right now, but it models out what it's going to do. Okay, here's all the slides, even though it doesn't have my context. Now, if I connected my Slack, if I connected these, now it's going to prefab around the context that I gave it. But just for the sake of the example, it's now working on it, and so it's telling me 57 seconds. So let's click into it to understand what its thinking process is. And so we actually are now about to look at its computer. So it's now taking over. I mean, this is again agentic, like it is literally taking over a bunch of tabs and it's performing these actions.
So what happened, like let's say, generally most of us as the private versus professional emails, right? So you have Microsoft, generally where you have professional emails. Even in Gmail, I already have 2 email IDs, right? I'm using a Gmail, right? So how you then do that? Like it's just read one, or you can just attach all those stuff and then it will able to learn, oh, this is
Connect your Outlook, connect your Microsoft 365, connect your Outlook account, connect your Google Workspace account, connect your.
You know, my question was in the response, because when you're responding professionally, there's a different tone versus you're responding on your private email or other stuff, right?
So and you basically the code switching that you're referring to would happen based off the context of who it's responding to. So it's going to natively, render, hey, this is a very professional input, so my response or my reply back must match that energy. Essentially, it'll make that decision using its intelligence as well as rendering the context that it was providing.
So let's say, for example, that piece of automation that you have to do, you might get tired of me saying this MD file. The reason you have that is that remember I showed you that blank screen? That's one of the steps. Maybe down the road you'll use it. But there's other tools you can use to say, go into that MD file and figure out what you're going to do for this email address that I have here. So you have 85 different email accounts. 8 of them are your personal and the rest of them are your business, right? People have a lot of email addresses. I know I've dealt with this a lot. So 8 of them. So how do you give that instruction to say 8 of them, but MD file wise, MD file from previous knowledge knows this email from this.com is these sort of things. These email, so MD file knows all this. MD file has it written down already. So large language model is like 8 of these, but each of these has a specific tone and content. MD file already has it built. So you're not telling like, go here, go do this. Like, hey, those 8 personal files, I need to send a wedding invitation. Type that in, MD file reads it, sends it over there. Now it creates all the emails on the draft. If you want to be safe, now you can look through the draft and figure it out. Or you can just tell it, send it. And if there's any mistake that you come across, the email somebody responds back, email them back and say, sorry, I sent the wrong date on the wedding. This is the actual date. So you go from doing these tasks in multiple tools, from MD file to all the tools.
So how to get to that MD file? So you have to use the language?
You're typing in from your chatbot, the way you talk right now, you're going to chat with that MD file.
So, for example, I will ask ChatGPT, go to my MD file.
You want to show them a file thing real quick on the ChatGPT, or just any large. The point is, ChatGPT, Gemini, they all have a file system. They all look at a file. So you can add a file here, and that file is what's going to work off of that. But the way I described it is that I'm going to type in here because of the sophistication of the system. This one is kind of like has to upload the file here. I'm talking about like it lives in your computer, so you tell the system, go look at this file and do what I think needs to be done for the wedding.
I've been using ChatGPT for now 2 months already, right?
Yeah.
So how I know where those files stored on my laptop?
Oh, gotcha. So you're talking about like
You're saying the MD file, right?
yeah.
MD, no, project file, I know, like if I something downloaded or something, that I know, right? Because I generally put it on desktop. But you're talking about the MD file, the learning that they did based on my whatever responses.
So what I would do, and I know ChatGPT allows you, within the settings, you can basically give it custom instructions and basic system prompt. You almost need to have a system prompt that always refers and routes your MD file, so, and I can show you how to do that.
And on the project, you can dump an MD file for a specific project as well, so you can have a
Right,
project MD file.
And then at the institution, so based on your account, we're gonna go into your settings, and we're gonna go into your data controls, where we would want to, again, that export data, when you're talking about what makes it redundant, you would be able to take all of the stored memory on you, then use custom instructions, and then you would, essentially, you could dump in, because what it's like learning about you.
Yeah, that's what I put it down myself.
Understood. And so what you're able to see is, this custom instruction set always refer to your MD file.
So, okay, can we write it down, right? What do you say?
And then you would be able to go, once you get your MD file built out, you can go and copy and paste that info into here and not that custom instructions. They will always refer to it.
But where is that MD file? That's what the question was.
You create the MD file. And then basically it's like, basically like you created a Word document that is your custom content. And instead of you constantly, every single time that you ever do the generation, bring that file, whatever you're putting in that MD file.
So I thought that the MD file was created based on like learning that machine learning that they're doing. No?
That's the process that is kind of going back to the Microsoft Word, saving it continuously. That's the process of MD file. You have to continuously tell the ChatGPT to update your MD file based on the activities you've done.
Where, like, so about my question is, I've been using this two months now.
Mhm.
So somewhere that MD file is created, right, by default?
No, MD files are yours. If you want your chat information, you're gonna ask OpenAI to give it to you. That's about it, but that's like, not as clear as MD file. So remember I said this is a business practice on a daily basis. You have to update your MD file on a daily basis.
So currently, you just put it down under that, but you didn't put the path,
Yes.
right?
So you're not able to upload the path directly. I'm saying the information, like, because they're not natively allowing you to upload the file within your settings, you would take that information that would be in there. But essentially, what you can do is at the project level, you can take that markdown file, which is directly basically you're uploading a file on your computer onto that cloud project. That would be one approach. It's just if you want to automate that, so you don't have to do that across every project. But right now, the most immediate,
I'm still losing it. Okay, so I'm not too technical that level. So for example, from today onwards, I want to create my MD file. How I do?
You can start with an MD file.
So it's basically I create a Word document right now, and
Sure.
then I ask ChatGPT, this is the path you have to have every time you update.
The chat depends on, do you have a ChatGPT subscription?
No, so free.
This is the free one.
Yeah.
Okay, free one, I don't know if the free one has the.
it's quite limited.
Yeah, it's quite limited, yeah.
Okay.
Because let's say, for example, you have ChatGPT paid version, you have Codex,
Mhm.
which lives in your laptop.
Which is
And
more-
from the Codex, you can just upload that as many times as you want. It has a path files, file paths.
the big difference is Markdown is literally, most people are familiar because it's a coding thing. It's more like
Yeah,
coding.
but I'm trying to understand, so because you went over here, and then in the setting, under the personalization, you said that, okay, custom instruction.
And this is-
For the subscription.
So you're tied up with the MD thing. What an MD does is this. What an MD does is this. So don't worry about the MD file. Just give it the context that you need it to always refer to. The MD file is when you're doing more heavy flow. So we've kind of we've confused you because we are telling you we use that, but ultimately the big point, regardless of the MD or not, context is key. Low maximum context in the custom instruction that always refer to this context, whether it's MD file. MD file stores all your context so that you don't always have to redo it. So just you can create a Word document and under the export options, can export it as a MD file, or you can export it as a Word file, or you can export it as a PDF.
So you
It's
have
the same
one
process
specific
of
field,
always
you also have
re-giving it to it, but when you pay for a certain, like,
So
I
let's
use papers
not
or
go-
perplexity
which ones
version,
are-
you can actually
You're
have it,
talking to your-
you can store the file as.
So when you say export,
Entities that
you say it as a big file.
Yeah, but you could also say that as a PDF, you could also say it as a Word.
Why I'm thinking it because I'm not studying my own business, right? So I was thinking that we should be continuously saying, okay, I make this decision on this, what happened, then it will output and then it works or when you feed it, right? But then
It's going with ChatGPT.
somewhere I need that file. Currently, I don't know where they're storing that information because I have zero visibility where this information. I thought it's everything in TechTradesmith cloud or whatever, right? It's not showing on my laptop.
So
All the decisions. So I was thinking, okay, how I create that and she said, by default, it's stored there.
Yeah, so
it's like your own journal.
It is your own.
what you could do, right, whatever tools you currently use right now, you could do export,
Anybody else has?
right, and as you export those data, it's actually gonna be an MD file. So the second that you click, because like you're asking for
Because it's
that,
your
okay,
mind,
let's do
your
this.
feeling, your essence. Got you.
So that's what it is.
Like I said, it's a practice, it's a process. We didn't do this in years for 10 years ago. Now it's developed.
So how soon, how fast can I build a business model like mine? 30, 60, 96 months.
So I'm not gonna be able to answer it that way, but let's say, for example, I'm asking Microsoft right now, if I was to start a business, I need to have some revenue coming in. I'm not gonna look at the process, I'm gonna look at the people that I have network to. So if you're thinking about the people side of it, people is gonna pay for that process.
So it's gonna be, this process may take a few days, so they're gonna email you with an email.
People process and fine, people process and
And
service.
it's gonna go through and read all of your
Services.
chats to know what.
Well, I'm
you're
doing
getting.
it.
And then over here, where you provide this one, instead of putting all that stuff, because over the years I will grow, I will just say file and then generally like how you C drive slash this, so where the client is, I will show that file, right? Where is it?
If you will like that product, they'll buy that.
It's the same thing, I mean, both, it basically, you would update this.
Because it's
Because
internet.
there's no way, you're not importing any file into here.
You sell to the people that from day one.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like,
It's gonna be day
you're not really changing this much. I would say if you want one to export your data in the labor, then you have an MD file. I guess the whole point is, if this in your system is not just already, like, there's not much point for you to export your data, just to ultimately bring it back. Right?
Yeah, because I'm currently looking basic stuff, right? So I can, in my mind, I have major stuff that I think people want is myself.
They want, that's fine.
Second thing, my business activities.
Now you're drawing and.
Business activities are definitely relying on physical doing because there are a lot of processes, a lot of stuff going, right? This is making.
And, if you have access to
First and
this,
foremost, I
people,
think-
they're buying for $1 a piece.
We want to get you
You
set
have
up
to build a process that costs $1 a piece. Or at least $1.10, so then we can make 10 cents profit, right?
Gotcha.
So
Because this-
by the time you deliver it, you also have to
Yeah,
figure out
yeah.
how much does it cost to deliver it.
And so what you really want to do
Big
is
question that a lot of
use
businesses
lead
ask
generation.
is that
You're talking about you want.
if you're delivering 10 today, you cannot sustain the 10 for the next 12 months.
You want.
You have to get to 10,000.
So, right.
If I have to scale that delivery system to 10,000,
I need lead generation that's gonna help my company
because I'm stuck on
get
10.
new customers in the telecom and
10,000
industry.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you're reverse engineering from the product that you're going to
And
that.
they don't want you, at this point,
The people.
they're blocking their intelligence. But it would actually take this command and literally go and do it. Like, it's crazy, it's gonna go so it's for people adjacent to your industry from a lead generation perspective.
Grow your
Very, very
audience. So
Very, very. Similar to what you saw when it made the contract, it's not like
That's part of your
giving me the
process.
text to go and throw into a file and then design it myself.
versus,
Go take the
let's say,
template,
like
you're not,
we was
I'm not
talking
moving
about
because if I connect my
something
different
more,
connectors,
let's say this is.
this is like,
This is a Microsoft or something.
this is perplexity, it's their start.
So therefore,
Neither
I
way.
would just find a way to network with them,
Okay.
either
So-
through
So
social
here it
media
is,
or
where I am
online.
actually. I do all this self, all this stuff, all this stuff. the
Good.
business acquisition where I
Used to
have
be
to go
paid.
to like
So that would be
data,
way
so those are the brokers website where I go and search for
Use
this
podcasts.
business to serve.
You go out.
Based on the themes, then I have to do all this data
Get
mining.
prospects.
Right.
And then I have the Slack channel, which is purely based on acquisition that I
So
saw,
how
right?
to
So
find
people
a
are
way
discussing
to
all the other topics that I need to do.
to get
So
that.
I'm thinking to create that digital twin,
Because I have this, so that's
analysis
the
that
follow
was,
process.
you know, broker websites
Is
and Slack.
How I want to,
So what I would do is I'll use.
I guess, more, more how we
Give it
process
web URL.
to get her to
Say, design a custom routine where every day you go through this, you go through this, and you devise a file to send to me, and it'll do it every
Yeah,
day.
because that's what I was doing, like I created a document, like for example.
And probably charge a month fee of $35.
So I have this broker information, the websites,
Yeah, so.
the name, right, so I already
that
created
process
this database to go through then those websites. So basically,
You have to
so create
compilate
this,
these two people process of knowledge.
You can literally give these files and keep, and say, keep adding to them, like literally, I mean,
so this is a company's.
The process
I was
that
using
you're
offline.
just go to your canvassing is not making money, because you can't.
it's incredible. It's awesome. You build it. Now, if
Now
I'm
you
you, even when
deliver
I need this, go to YouTube.
So what does that mean? Market,
Let me just get it ready for you.
get the customer
Pull it up right now.
sell to the customer, and by the time you sell to the customer, can you sell them to the again? Can you sell them to say, can you do my marketing for me on behalf of me? Talk about this product. You see where this is going? Like it's a full feedback loop.
Because I thought that I have to train first and go through 3 months before they start doing it.
Nah, man, nah.
We're seeing
You don't. Not anymore. Because I stopped like a year ago. Yes, a year ago.
But
It's moving so fast.
And they do it
It's moving so fast.
and then it turns out that everybody can do it. Well, everybody can do it, but it's just that the return on investment is not going to be the same.
All right, so we're gonna.
Right.
But
You're
if
not
you
gonna
go
be
into
the stores
the
place.
perplexity. I mean, it's a
You're not
mess.
gonna
It's
have
powerful. It's like, but man, I mean, they're all trying to build the same thing. With perplexity, they do it very well. So
So
if I'm you,
if you're thinking about, like, say,
yeah,
let's
yeah,
say,
like 5 cents or whatever. But
that demand signal generation.
yeah, I mean, we're on the same page, right?
campaign and all that.
So then I focus on this
Can you automate the
Security,
delivery
cloud,
of the whole
and
thing?
yeah,
Because that's a very day one conversation that you have to do marketing. You have to do
and because
you have to do
all
something.
these hide
You can
behind the
automate
page,
majority
what are your
of
thoughts like? So pay, I don't want to pay over.
companies these days
Everyone.
that does it, they're
Because one is the email, the Excel file that I
Say the last one,
because I need to have
They
this number.
automated, they becomes a
make the investment computer.
Right.
because they forgot this process all the time.
Yeah, plug in the computer. That's the problem.
You don't want
But,
giants.
you know, it's
want
a general
things
chatbot.
that's
If you
always
just
in
use this, which is
So,
just
so the
perplexity
process
itself,
of
it's like a
they
search
automate,
engine.
and
So
that automation
for free,
also
it can do things like
because there's a lot of problems that show up.
it's just search engine today.
By the time they fix it, it's like, come
Why
on.
perplexity?
So marketing, and then you have to deliver that product, that delivery of the change has to be so
So
good
it's like a chat.
that.
Yeah, it's like a chatbot. It's like a search engine makes a
Product that
chatbot.
you serve, they're like.
And you don't have to pay for this, but perplexity
It's
computer
kind of like me talking about
is
cloud all
very
day.
different in the use case that it does. Now, I'm saying invest in perplexity because
So the point is that
it's
you
not only
deliver
a chatbot,
something, so you have to take the process of
what you
turn the demand signal.
but now with this use case, it becomes a worker for you.
But
So
now tell
Currently,
me
you
how
put it
you
on the
for the
web
feedback.
browser.
With the
Right now,
demand signal
it's on
generates
the
itself.
left.
Okay?
Yeah.
You
capture it
if you want to, yeah. I mean, I like the web.
Exponentially.
The version it looks cool on the desktop, but if I'm being honest, either one. I mean, they're both connected to the cloud.
Demand signal
Even if
capture,
you
demand signal
have it on your
generation,
computer,
And the
so I have it on my computer, sure, but
I would say if
You
you
can
between
see,
those two, there's a demand
you
signal.
know, I'm planning an assisted webinar
Demand
series.
signal processing.
Good, I have
Automate
full
that.
context
That's
because what I did was what I do is I say
And that's the
If
key
I
point
want
I will tell you is
this,
that you have to look at the demand
this
signal
format,
processing and how to
and I'm
automate
telling
that.
it upfront, but then I'm
If
telling
you
it
can
also,
automate that, and if you can keep that.
we need a
to
version of
yourself,
this for my
code
company
that
and our
yourself,
products.
Make
as
that
a
part
webinar,
of your
And
asset.
then also,
Nobody else can do
my
this.
website,
The
and
way
then
you do
my
it,
partner's
you're gonna
website,
control.
and from there, good.
Because if you think
And then
about
when
it,
you go,
emails, marketing, and all
look
that,
into
it's
those
somebody
websites,
else.
it's telling
You're
you,
just automating
and then
it.
it's telling me what it's gonna
That's
do,
their
it's
process.
pure actions,
9 billion
it just
people can
does them for me, and then it
But
outputs
the
the
demand
file.
signal processing, they can
Now
now
this is how I connect my
So
Google with
going back to
what
the
you
pizza,
connect.
so
Connection.
when you're doing a demand signal delivery, everybody delivers pizza,
Customize.
but everybody delivers pizza for $10.
Discover it and all. try to just,
You have that?
you know, it's some account, you just have created an account,
But
Gmail,
somebody else can
it'll
say,
make,
I
it'll
want
make
to
calendar
send
invites,
myself
it'll send,
Yeah, that's what I was
the
it'll
thinking.
connect to
dimensional
that.
processing, if you can
I'm
keep
telling
the
you,
cost of
this
operations down,
it's
so
gonna
let's
change
say,
everything for you.
I
Just
make
the
this
big
for
value
$5
today,
because
just
my
walk
demand
away
signal
with
processing is so
this is
automated
AI agent, it's
that I can
not,
sell it for
we're not talking about AI.
everybody else does it
It
manually.
does.
It costs
So
them
if
$8
you walk with
to
nothing
deliver
else,
that demand signal.
now you have an AI
So
agent.
they make $1 off
You
of
can
it.
work for it. Right? I have 18 employees.
Right.
This makes me feel
And you can do
like
more
40.
special, more activities.
I
that
pay
can
for
go
it to
there
have their
to
own
10,000.
agent. And so they, while they're doing, because it
Right.
would,
Because
it
of
would
this
literally do
demand signal
work for 2
processing
hours.
that you have made for
It doesn't,
yourself.
you don't
Now
expect
think about it, 10 years later, it's not selling pizza,
It'll
you're
go,
selling that
go do
process
something. So,
to everybody.
I've had multiple times where it's taken, right?
So now your
This one,
greatest
when I
strength
did
is
a consulting for a
demand signal
organization,
generation,
and it told me
automation.
how long it took.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
I think in total.
Demand signal
it's
processing, I don't even know where to start with that.
to
Demand signal delivery, how does that give me a
It
return on
literally
investment?
took
Now let me figure out the
18
processing part in the middle.
It's gonna tell me how
So that way, I
18 seconds.
automate that with AI, not necessarily everything that can be automated because everybody can.
Yeah, it just took a very long time to do all of this, but by the end of it,
Just reading.
it provided very real 4 seconds, 1
It-
minute, 20
It
seconds,
takes
sometimes
some,
the action. So you're doing all the different steps, and it takes,
Yeah.
you know,
But I think
minutes,
one of the things
2
I'll
minutes,
tell you
20
is
seconds.
that
But
if you
sometimes
look
it might
at
take 40
yourself,
minutes to
you
just
say,
now you're empowered to do something, but you know that it's
what
gonna
is the
have
buyer?
4 deliverables
What
ready
shoes
to
are
go.
they?
If you don't need
What
to
are they?
adjust it,
How do
you
they think
can.
of me?
You absolutely can adjust
It's
it.
like, you know, you can get to
You know,
know.
okay, I need you to go
or you
wake
can
up every morning at 8 a.m. go do a deep
And then say-
dive and digest based on my connector.
I can see
Based on
myself.
my
doing
context,
something
I need this done.
Right?
It's gonna start
Like
delivering.
buyers will
As if
be
it's
actually
your,
coming to me because
admin
of
assistant.
previous relationship.
Literally. I have an
You
administrative
have
assistant, and I
their,
guess what?
you
I
have
pay for her
their
to use this,
interest in heart
and
and
now
they
she's
know
doing
that,
so much
right?
for me.
So now you're seeing.
It's like 3
people
admins.
You can categorize who are those people that are gonna buy from you, and when you sell them, how fast does it take to close that deal?
So to get the connection, you have to have a paid person.
Business
That's what you're
operations,
saying.
is that it's not about how many you sell, how fast you
yeah.
close the deal,
Okay, I'm gonna see.
right? Because
So-
if you think about.
So first and foremost, the really cool thing is,
And I have to connect all the.
But you have to start with 100.
Right.
And if you can close this 100, next 200 is easier. Next 200 is easier. More difficult you make to close this first 100.
so now
How
that's-
I-
that's-
Necessarily,
it
it
was
was
a
about
Gmail
the
account.
customer.
Yeah, I have to go set up the emails to go.
That's gonna benefit itself. from
Right,
this.
right, but I wanna just real quick show you,
So the people that were
because it's
selling
connected
that,
to Gmail calendar,
fidget spinners.
and then later on, just show just, you can
Fidget
fidget,
spinners, remember the fidget?
for example.
You put it in your
I
finger,
mean, they
and
have
you
Slack
twist
connected.
it.
Watch this.
Look at it. Selling.
Scan my email and
Biggest
tell me
business
what is
I've
actually
ever
seen that I can get
Go from
responses
nothing
to.
to everything. So it's like a little thing you hold in your hand.
Scan
and
my
then you spin
email
it,
and
it spins.
give me actionable responses.
They turned that into a whole thing of this one. That's it. You know what I mean? Nothing to do with
Because they already have your contact, what is it about to do? It's
what can
literally,
you do
about to
with
scan your
this
email and
buy?
just that alone, it's gonna take you a lot of time. Now we start to connect a lot of things. What it's doing with your Gmail, it can do with your Slack. What it's doing with your, you connected to your OneDrive with all your, Google Drive, where you store all of your files. Go add to my Google Sheets, go add to my Microsoft Excel through the web browser. That's what business means. And this is, as you know, this is directly your direct email, right?
Oh,
I'll run to this one.
Okay, sure. All right. Let me see the stream is still going.
Oh, okay.
Right, you see it? Yeah.
So just over here, can you probably like, if I want to add the second Gmail account over here, how I do that? So one is already here
Oh, so one account per,
per platform,
per chat. You can switch the accounts. Every
or
time.
chat.
So
So because I go to customization,
ChatGPT can connect with one email.
no, this is another,
Which one is this? Gemini?
no, purpose.
Perplexity. Yeah, they're all the same. They all have the same connection.
No, but I'm
One
not going to
connector.
chat, it's like in the connections.
Connections.
customization.
Yeah. So if you want to log into some different account, you have to go through the same process. Log out of that one and log into this
So I cannot do two together,
one. No.
so disconnect and then connect again.
Disconnect and connect again to the different account. Yeah. So now you're seeing the possibility of how much time you can save with this, right? But more you practice it, more time you actually end up saving because of
So
changes in the process.
that part I didn't listen. So when you're saying to the website, you say over and over. So what do you do over and over?
So I think it's called version iteration in all industry. Version iterations means that you create a product and you optimize that product over time. Right? So optimize that means that like it runs more efficiently, it runs in faster, better, and cheaper. Right? So when it comes to a website, let's say for example we're sticking to MD files on a website. Right? If you develop a website, everybody can land on it. Like you can see it, but everybody else can land on it. It's not a problem because 5 people land on it.
Right.
If you have 5,000 people landing on it, that's an optimization problem. Now you have to talk about like, okay, how do I get 5,000 people to attend without website crashing continuously? Because that's what happens. The data feed of 5,000 people is different than 5 people, right? So the systems that you deploy, the website you deploy, all of a sudden works very well on day 1, but day 2, day 3, day 4, as the audience grows, now it starts crashing. So you're talking about optimizing. So if you think about it from AI space, where you are today with AI, you don't want to deploy something on day 1. You want to deploy it after you have done enough brainstorming and optimization on your own. So when you deploy it, you know what sort of strength it has and where things will go wrong. So in AI space, say for example, actually I take that back. Without AI, this process will take you into actual environment, actual production, to get real-time feedback and real-time problem solving. You can actually run the simulation in AI to say, all right, I'm going to deploy this today. If I was to deploy it today, start running through simulation and tell me what problems am I going to run into, right? So you're optimizing before you even deploy it. So the process is to go from that, I'll deploy it, then I'll optimize it. Now it's like, before I deploy it, let's go to the optimization process. Tell me all the things that are coming down the scenario pipeline that I have to fix before I deploy it. Right? So you can go through it and say like, all right, out of 20 problems, I can fix 18, 2 I cannot handle, so I'm just gonna leave it up to the chance that those 2 things might not happen in deployed environment or production. That kind of gave you the optimization part of it, the version iteration? Yeah.
So you basically same thing, role play, you start saying, okay, see you have a scenario where 50 people are deploying or somebody is contacting me and run that simulation, whether I'm able to get the information or they will contact me or the data feed happen or not.
Because you're putting a lot of work in to get to a point of getting 5,000 people to visit your website. You're doing a whole lot of work. You don't want it to crash when it gets to 5,000 people, right? But the reason I say that in AI space or large language model space, which you're using right now, is that you can simulate things ahead of time. So going back to what we did for the prompt, that's an example, right? Now you can go to ChatGPT and start rambling about, hey, I need to do something and I have no idea how to write a prompt on this. Write me a prompt based on what you think is the right prompt. It will write you an extensive level of prompt that you're gonna read it like, okay, this one is talking about a pizza store. I'm running a car shop. 2 different things, right? It's okay. It's helping you. It's brainstorming on your behalf, right? So I don't write prompts anymore off the top of my head. I let it write the prompt for me, and then I copy and paste it, and I run that prompt somewhere else. Or rather, I can continue in that chat, but I don't. Oh, this reminds me of something. Can I deviate for like a quick 1 minute? Off topic here, but this is necessary that you understand this. You mentioned project, which I like, right? Project is good. But say, for example, you're not using project, you're using chat. One of the things you want to do is make sure you don't use that chat forever. The technical terminology is the context window. So that means if I start a conversation with him 30 minutes ago, he retained that 30 minutes of information. But if I have told him 3 days ago something, and 3 days later I'm still talking about it, he loses where I started 3 days ago, because he's the context window holder, right? He can only hold so much of the information because he's been listening to me, he's been chatting with me the whole time. So he starts losing the context of 3 days ago. So what you want to do is open the chat and run the chat for as little time as possible. The reason you do that is because ChatGPT has the highest amount of context window, which is about 1 million, where Claude is only 130,000. Huge gap. right? So I'm gonna take the risk because I don't want the system to lose context on where the conversation started. So if you told that a conversation like in a very early stage, like this is an important investment of $1 billion I'm about to make, it will forget it in midway. You don't want that to forget because now it's hallucinating and telling you a bunch of rambling stuff that, it doesn't have anything to do with $1 billion invested, right? It's just doing whatever it thinks is the right context to it. So you always want to make sure that in the chat, you minimize how long you use that for. And then on the project, you always want to keep that MD file and the necessary file that you have. But always, make sure that you keep an eye on those files because those files can deviate away from what you're trying to do in the project. And again, I know you're not in the project yet, you're not doing a project, but if you are, you have to keep an eye on this project because there's a context window that you want to keep an eye on.
Even on the project too?
I'm gonna say project has its own context window, but it's because of its files. I think it's called the source. What's that word for it? The system source tokens. Yeah. What's that? Because the file system, it eats more token. It eats more of the context. So in the project, you have to keep an eye on it because it runs out of its ability to say the memory piece, memory of like, what are we doing here with the files? The files are still there, but every time it has to read the files, it runs through lots of, reading, right? The reading capability. So you want to keep an eye on that as well because, project, again, Claude, ChatGPT, they all have different bandwidth, right? That's the keyword, bandwidth. So context window could run out and you don't even know it happened. But system is just hallucinating over and over, trying to give you the same information and forgetting what you start the conversation. So just to keep a note on that. So the next time you're using a chat, you're not using it for too long.
So just a quick question to you. You are using also, I'm trying to search for the Slack, but I could not find Slack in the connectors.
Does Perplexity have Slack?
Yeah.
Perplexity has Slack. And there's, let's see.
Even I went through like this one too, but I could not find Slack.
Did you type in SLACK?
Yeah.
Okay. Type in Salesforce.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I think you might be the right person to do that. I stopped using Slack. I put it on that's out.
So to make sure I'm understanding, so when I use, let's say, ChatGPT or Claude, you're saying, well, let's say I'm working on doing something, big, it's really charity work or good for business. And so you're saying, well, I'm interacting with ChatGPT. Do I know close it down or not? Like close it down, don't keep it for a long period of time.
Yeah, like if you're chatting and you're like, so it's not like a text me a buddy. We've been texting him for like the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Between you two, you have lots of memory of what the conversation was 10 years ago. But you don't want to do that chat window open with the chat.
Is there any way to compress it?
It does that. Well, it does that. But one of the things that I have issue with it is that it probably is losing context in the middle. Oh, sorry, it's emphasizing the context in the middle more. So it tries to make up for that inability. So it focuses more like the heavy in the middle rather than it's it's just like human brain. It's reading continuously. It has to read continuously. But just like me, no matter how much we read, we're gonna fall asleep. Eventually.
It's
almost like the same limitation. I've read all the stuff. Which one is the real thing?
Just to
Give you.
just to summarize, right? So
like for example,
basically,
on a project or something for social media, maybe I do that for the prompt. You maybe call it out after 10 minutes.
business page.
No. I'm talking about
Over here, it's more like a project where I'm using
don't use it for more than a week.
links,
Because I don't think you're gonna go into heavy research, like the way I got a lot of fuss into it, I'm trying to get the work done in 20.
Identify. Yeah, it is. So this,
Context
you're
window
saying
means
that
that
because it's
how much
accessible and
bandwidth
everything,
does it have?
this,
Or can you retain the information?
And similarly,
So when I dump all the files
you
into
want to do
it runs out of
find
bandwidth.
people,
Like, ah,
you can do everything, you can tap to those networks.
That's kind of what I'm
Your
saying.
idea, your profile, you tell it.
It's intelligence to a point.
And you can do it within.
It's intelligence to a point,
everything.
because it really needs a lot of instruction.
So
This is what the MP file is really important.
PDF.
So you go from chat to chat and you use it.
So PD, PPD also creation,
It does that.
yeah.
It's a different way of using
Website designing too,
the
right?
prompts,
It does.
because now you don't have to write the prompt at this point.
So what's
I
that?
just tell
So
it,
I've already
really
started,
send me
with,
file,
for
and
example,
tell me the.
ChatGPT, I told you,
what
right?
do you do
Because
next?
it's a long way I
And
went
it
to
goes
that,
through all that, and says like, oh, yeah, I just want to
do
do
this
this.
like customize.
But you also can
instructions.
start to see
If I have to copy this one,
Okay, all right.
I directly want to put
So,
it in.
so once I
how
build
it
the
have to work.
So we need to, well, we go into
different bars.
settings, you actually want to go to settings at that
Of
point.
my, let's say,
Yeah,
for my
give it your.
In your diaries, you have
your
to direct it.
you're gonna want
You have
it
to direct it based on how the system.
personalization.
Same.
ChatGPT works in a way that it can be structured.
Because now it's basically baked, active.
Or you can drag and drop. Most likely it's drag and drop. So that means, in ChatGPT, you click the plus sign and then you bring in that file. You gotta have ChatGPT read that. So it's like a free version versus a.
If we are at, we have to jump into, my team is, we have a new customer.
Yeah.
But, sorry, guys, but this was awesome.
So you do every Friday?
We do, so LeVar and I, so through Hey Design Guide, our organization that are partnering through this event, we literally have an office. LeVar and I, we, you know. our
Oh, just a
organization
second,
partner.
can you go back?
Right here. So Tech Tradesmith, we have an office. The first and third Fridays, we do it here, and then, second and fourth, we have an office in Plano, Texas. Please feel free to reach out.
You are in there?
Second, fourth week.
Yeah, second and fourth week, where you would come and basically go deeper, where we can actually go. Because these are all about high level. These are 2 hours high level. We can do up to 4 hours when we do basically almost consulting.
Okay, so just for the second. First and third week you are doing here every Friday, same time, 10 to 1.
Yes, sir. 10 to 12. So
Every Friday.
we're going over.
Oh, is it customer?
Every other.
Every other, yeah, it's 12, because I had to jump in this at 12.
First and third Friday of every month you are doing over here. Second and fourth Friday you are doing
At our office, yeah, LeVar and I,